The following program is a presentation of Jez Sports. It's a new year, yes it is, and Happy New Year. We've got a lot to discuss on what is going to be probably a very long episode, last couple of weeks of 2019. But first, I have to introduce my new co-host. And actually, I didn't check how to fully pronounce your surname before we got started, but now's as good a time as any. Please welcome Dan Trudgett.
Yeah, well done. You got it right.
Hey, there we go.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to be here. I'm really excited to do this.
It's going to be fantastic to not feel a bit schizophrenic and talk to myself for the whole podcast. So very, very much welcome. Before we get started, then, let's learn a little bit about you as a wrestling fan, which I assume you are a wrestling fan doing this podcast.
Oh, I don't know. I might be. Yeah, I am.
Okay, so tell us a little bit then. How long have you been into wrestling? What are your favourite superstars, matches, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, I've been into wrestling since the beginning of secondary school, really. So I can't remember what age that would be. So like around 12 or something, Started really just playing the games at my friend's house. Then just started to watch it and just got hooked from there, really. Favourite superstars? That's a good question, actually. All-time favourite? I have to say Jeff Hardy. I do like him. And that's a bit of a controversial one. Some people.
You may hear thoughts about that at some point.
I thought I might. I also like more modern ones. I like Seth Rollins. Favourite female wrestler? Got to be Alexa Bliss. Got a very big soft spot for her.
On that we agree.
Yeah. Favourite matches? There's quite a few favourite matches. I quite like the extreme matches. So probably, I can't remember when it was, but it's Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon, where he put him through the glass.
Nerd time. King of the Ring 2001.
That's the one. Probably that's up there with a few others, So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool. So that gives us a little bit about you. I'm sure we'll learn more as we go forward.
Oh yeah.
But we've got too much WWE TV to discuss, so let's crack straight into that.
Yes.
And we'll kick off with the last SmackDown of 2019, which took place on December the 27th. Now, the show got underway with the introductions of the three men that would compete for number one contendership for the Universal Championship: Daniel Bryan, The Miz, and Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin cut a promo, insulting his opponents and questioning their ability to be fathers. Roman Reigns' music hit, and in addition to Corbin falling off his sedan, the pair fought their way out of the arena. Backstage, Baron Corbin demanded that the match be postponed until he is healthy. Quite a strange start to SmackDown. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, it was a bit weird, with Corbin. I do quite like Baron Corbin, actually. I personally think he should get a title run.
I think that is definitely something that should happen at some point. But my question is, and I didn't really pay 100% attention during the SmackDown previous, but when did Baron Corbin get added to this match? I thought it was just supposed to be The Miz and Daniel Bryan. I
know, I thought that, but I think it was the week before when he was going on. He came out and said he beat Roman Reigns twice, so that automatically gives him a title opportunity.
Oh yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah, and then I think there was, I don't know, something going on, and then they just all beat the hell out of each other, as they do. Yeah,
I mean, it's so WWE to randomly add a guy to a match only to find a really complicated way of then removing him from the match. It's WWE all over, really.
Oh yeah, I just found it funny that when he came down on his what do you call it? I've forgotten what it's called now. Sedan, and he was supposed to fall off it, and the guys who were carrying it kind of botched that a little bit.
Yeah.
If you watched it, it was quite funny how they literally just bent over.
Well, just one side kneeled down, the other side didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they had to find a safe way of throwing him off a pedestal
Yeah.
6 foot in the
Yeah.
air, but yeah, it looked a bit odd. I'll give you that.
What was it? Roman Reigns came and gave him an uppercut, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but I do honestly hope that Baron Corbin does get a good title opportunity at some point, even if it's not even like the Universal title or something. So the first match to actually take place was a 6-man tag match with the New Day, Braun Strowman taking on Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn and Cesaro. The match ended with Kingston blasting Nakamura with the platter from the New Day's pancakes, and Strowman doing his typical thing of following it up with a power slam to claim the win.
Right, I know it was Christmas, but what was this dancing thing that Strowman did after the match?
Yeah,
like
I didn't get that.
I get that it's a fun thing for Christmas. I'm all for kind of breaking that image at Christmas time, but
yeah.
I'm concerned that once a WWE audience sees that once, that's something that they ask for over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things that it's going to be just people are going to be wanting it, and WWE's just going to hand it to them, no pun intended, on a silver platter.
Because WWE only give the people what they want when it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when it's stupid, they give it to them, but when it's like something that we actually want, like someone taking the title off Brock Lesnar for once.
Yeah. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later. That doesn't happen. But the Braun Strowman dancing thing, he's supposed to be the monster among men. He's supposed to be this terrifying dude. And then they have him go dancing with the New Day.
He's the hip jiggler among men.
Yeah, he is now.
Which has a completely different meaning.
Yes, exactly. But, I know the New Day, they do their dancing and, stuff, which is their gimmick, which is great. But, trying to fill the void of Xavier Woods doing the dancing with a big guy who's tough and all that, who can apparently flip a lorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was entertaining, but hopefully we don't see that again.
No, I really hope we don't, because it was just embarrassing.
Talking of things that we probably see a bit too much, next match featured Carmella versus Mandy Rose. Now, Carmella had already defeated Sonya Deville and was trying to go 2-0 against Fire and Desire with a win. And she did that, nailing God's Greatest Creation with a super kick for the victory. But that's not really the story here.
No.
The story at the moment is this strange love interest thing that's going on between Mandy Rose and Otis from Heavy Machinery.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
I wonder where it's going to go, because they're playing it like she's kind of into it, maybe.
Yeah, so that's what they're playing, but I can kind of see it like going along the lines of them being into it. She's getting like really flirty with him, and then like use him to her advantage, and then backstab him.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, you see what I mean, and I really like Otis.
I like the team together. I don't think either of them really have any
personality.
Well, that, but I don't think they have any rope for a singles run of any kind. They only really work as a team. But I do have a soft spot for them, dating back to their time in NXT.
Oh yeah, I like him. I think Otis he's just a bit of a comedy part of it. He's part of the comedy duo almost, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Tucker's like the serious one, and then there's Otis who's the comedy one. I
think I said it on the last podcast, but they're doing a good job of into a kind of everyman, somebody that especially kind of blue collar Americans can relate with.
Yeah.
I hope they don't ruin that by kind of emotionally and romantically destroying him in this Mandy Rose storyline.
Oh, I hope they don't ruin it. I hope they don't ruin him at all. So, I mean, it's always been like kind of in the background that he's had a thing for Mandy Rose, isn't it? So.
Oh, has it? I hadn't noticed that before.
Yeah, there's been a few like like moments where he's like ages ago when she was on the cover of a magazine or something, she was handing out magazines and he got a selfie with her, and all these sort of things. It's always been in the background, I think. So
it must have been drowned out by Corey Graves' infatuation with her.
Yes, exactly.
All right, let's move on.
So next, they tried to have the one-on-one match between Daniel Bryan and The Miz, which I think would be a good match. But then King Corbin security ran down, got involved, forcing a double disqualification.
I completely agree with you. That one-on-one match would be a great match. But we're not going to get it, apparently.
No. I mean, the history between Daniel Bryan and The Miz, everyone knows. Everyone who's a wrestling fan anyway knows. Like, back into the days of when it was like NXT was a reality show, and Miz was Daniel Bryan's coach, and they always had a heated partnership then, and this being a heated partnership now is great. What I can see, I don't know, this might be very far-fetched, but they might do what they did with Sheamus and Cesaro. Where they made him into a tag team. I
might have been inclined to agree with you were it not for what happened on this week's SmackDown, which we'll get to. So maybe we'll put a pin in that and come back to that thought.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I spoke too soon earlier, right? And saying how it was just like WWE to go ahead and put someone in the match and then complicatedly take them out, and then for them to complicatedly put them back into the match again. It's just such a waste of time on SmackDown. I wasn't very keen on this whole thing. Either they were going to have the triple threat or they were just going to have this one-on-one match. I didn't really appreciate this in out, shake it all about that they were doing.
Yeah.
We'll try again later and see if we actually get this match sorted.
Yes.
Moving on with SmackDown. Lacey Evans was welcomed to a moment of bliss, which, from what you said earlier, I think was one of your favourite segments of SmackDown.
That was my highlight. That was my highlight.
This was followed by tag team action in which Lacey Evans and Dana Brooke took on Bayley and Sasha Banks. Ultimately, the weakest link of the match was Dana Brooke, and she was forced to tap to the Banks statement. So, putting Alexa Bliss to the side for the moment, let's talk about let's talk about the content of this segment, and that was the Lacey Evans Sasha Banks rivalry. How do you feel that's going at the moment?
I think it's going all right. I think that Sasha Banks, obviously being a heel and taking a jab at Lacey Evans' daughter. Because I do like Lacey Evans, actually. I think she's a good competitor, and she's actually grown a lot recently.
Absolutely.
I think she's a good competitor. She was great as a heel, I thought, but now her coming into a babyface, I think she's doing good at that as well. But Sasha Banks, taking a jab at her daughter, I think that's going well. The only thing, I think, just don't make it too personal with the WWE. I think that's what they've got to take onto consideration.
Yeah, they're really pushing hard on this don't talk about my daughter thing, and I think it's getting a bit too much at the moment. They're pushing it to the point of nauseum, I think. But in general, I agree with you. I think Lacey Evans is doing a fantastic job as a babyface. She was starting to get stale as a heel, so it was definitely time. It cracked me up. Yeah, absolutely. It cracked me up last week that they had Lacey Evans' daughter involved in a segment.
I know.
And that this 6-year-old child wasn't as good an actor as the Miz's 2-year-old daughter the week before.
I know. That was funny. It's the fact that Lacey Evans' daughter was like growling and swiping at Sasha Banks.
She just looked feral. It was strange.
I know. But again, Lacey Evans makes good points with nobody disrespects the daughter, So yeah, I can see where they're going with this. I mean, we've had this sort of thing before in WWE, obviously, where they've wrestlers have gone after the
family,
their opponents, like families, exactly before, Well, like recently, it was Brock Lesnar with Rey Mysterio's son.
Yes.
So finally, the match that actually happened: Daniel Bryan versus The Miz versus King Corbin. Interference from both Dolph Ziggler and Roman Reigns eventually turned the match back into a one-on-one between Bryan and Miz. Late in the match, Miz hit the skull-crushing finale and locked Bryan in a figure 4 leg lock. Bryan countered, though, and Miz tapped out to the label lock, formerly known as the Yes Lock. Daniel Bryan will face The Fiend at the Royal Rumble.
Hooray!
Yeah.
The match finally happened, and I think we got the right outcome of it as well.
Oh yeah, I think it was. I think it was always on the cards for Daniel Bryan to face The Fiend again after The Fiend allegedly ripped out his hair.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of this match, I just feel that Corbin wasn't necessary in any way, and they could have just gone with Bryan and The Miz straight away. I guess they just needed a way to continue the feud with Roman Reigns without it just being another segment with them in the ring. I don't know. It wasn't necessary, and I didn't appreciate it personally.
No, I wasn't really fussed on it, you know.
There's very little to add, really, other than how did you find the first match between Daniel Bryan and The Fiend?
I quite liked it, because I do like The Fiend character, and I like him. You know, Bray Wyatt doing this creepy old thing is really good. I liked it, and I'm a big fan of The Fiend.
For me, it followed a very similar formula to the other Fiend matches, but I'm quite liking this dynamic that Daniel Bryan seems to be the only person that hasn't been broken by The Fiend yet.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's going to pay off at the Royal Rumble with him winning the title, or whether The Fiend is finally going to break Daniel Bryan, and that will be the end of this new Daniel Bryan. We already had the new Daniel Bryan.
The new.
We'll just keep adding on news until we're happy with the Daniel Bryan we've got.
I wonder if Daniel Bryan does win the Universal Championship, if they'll do a wooden version of the Universal Championship like they did with the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be quite easy, I would think. I don't know. Did that belt have WWE or World Heavyweight Championship written on it, like the actual belt does?
I think it was basically exactly the same as the World Heavyweight Championship, like the WWE Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
But it was just made of wood.
Right.
I think it was literally a carbon copy, basically.
That's some detailed wooden lettering there.
Oh, it is. Well, they've got it on WWE Shop as well. You can buy it.
Oh yeah, how much will that cost?
Oh, I think that's like nearly £400.
Okay, and when does it arrive at your house?
I've already got the United Kingdom Championship, but I'm eyeing up other belts at the moment. So
didn't fancy the $7,000 or whatever it was Fiend Face Championship?
Oh no, I didn't. I really didn't fancy that. That's like £7,000 for that, and to be honest, it looks like I could make it at home.
That's true. Yeah.
So
okay then. Before we move on to Monday Night Raw, there's something I'd like to note here, because it's a momentous, historic occasion. The December 30th episode of Raw, the last of 2019, would be the very last WWE program to air on Sky Sports in the UK. Sky's been the home of WWE for over 30 years. Pretty much the entire run of WWE since its real rise to popularity in the late 80s has all been on Sky Sports. So what do you think now about they're done, they're moving to BT Sport?
I think it's a big, bold move. Obviously BT gave WWE a better offer, I think a lot of fans will be a bit annoyed in the UK, because obviously if they've watched WWE, chances are they've watched it on Sky.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people talk to me about how they won't be watching anymore because it's on BT Sport, and their packages are fairly expensive, especially in comparison to if you've already got Sky.
Mm.
and you like other sports, so you'll already be keeping Sky Sports, and then you've got to add
Yeah.
BT Sport as well. The
Yeah.
price does rise.
Yeah, well, I think it was just for the sport, BT Sport, it's £25 a month, and that's just for the BT Sport.
Yeah, that's not cheap.
So. Mind you, I did see today, it popped up on my Facebook, that BT are obviously really trying to sucker in the people to watch WWE on BT Sport because they are doing a deal. And if you subscribe now to it and you get BT Sport and BT Fibre, guess what you get free?
WWE Network?
No.
Go on.
You get the WWE Championship replica belt.
Really?
Yes.
Man, you're right. That is a fantastic deal.
I know. And I think it's like a proper one. It's not like the commemorative versions, which are made of plastic, where the belts are made, like the plates are made of plastic. It's actually a proper metal plated WWE Championship belt. So that's about £400.
Fair play to them. That is a killer incentive to
I know.
go and spend all of your money on watching WWE on BT.
It is. So yeah, but that popped up today, and I thought, oh, that was quite interesting.
Okay, well, I personally, I'm not a fan of the move. Not that it affects me terribly. I haven't watched WWE on Sky for quite some time. I've got access to all the American networks, so I just watch it live at source, as it were. But I think I will be interested to see in a few months how it has affected the viewership in the UK. I'm not sure if they'll release those numbers, but I hope that we get to know.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see, actually, because it might. I don't know if it goes all downhill. Will they go crawling back to Sky, do you think?
I think it's a 5-year contract.
Is it a 5-year contract?
I think so. So I think there's going to be quite some time before they get a chance to revisit it. But I may be making that up. I can't remember the details of the deal perfectly.
No, I can't either. All I remember is you get a free WWE Championship.
Yeah, that may tempt me to get it, even though I don't need it, to be honest. Installment plan.
But moving on anyway. So, but there was something else significant that happened before Raw. Andrade won the United States Championship at Madison Square Garden on Saturday the 28th. What do you think of that?
I am a big fan of Andrade winning the US Championship. I would have liked to see it on television.
Yeah, I think they should have done it on television.
Even if they were going to maybe do a network special from Madison Square Garden, just a quick hour show, half an hour show even. Just this match and another match, like Merry Christmas, here's extra content for free.
Yeah.
But that aside, I mean, Andrade definitely is deserving of the United States Championship. He's done very well for himself, especially considering he's been on the main roster for a fair amount of time now. I can't remember when he came up from NXT, but I feel like it was the night after WrestleMania. I will need to refresh my memory. But regardless, he has had a few good feuds since arriving. And it's about time that he won a championship. And the US title's a good place to start, even if it does seem like they're just passing the US title between all of the Mexicans on the Raw roster.
Yeah, I know. I do like the US title, just a little side note, but I think the US title needs a bit of a revamp.
What, the belt itself?
Yeah, the belt itself.
It is the oldest serving current WWE Championship belt, I believe. All of the others have been changed along the lines, but that US Championship hasn't been changed since, I want to say, 2003, when they brought it back to SmackDown. I mean,
after John Cena's hideous spinner belt.
Yeah, they made that spinner version, but before and after that, it was this same belt design. So you're right, it is in dire need of something different.
Yeah. I mean, they've tried to, change it up. They've added, a few paint applications here and there, but it needs something bigger. It needs a complete title redesign, overhaul.
Maybe a giant 3D replica eagle.
That'd be good.
America.
I don't know if that would be one I'd be getting.
Right, on to Raw then, which began with a fired-up Kevin Owens. Owens complained about the beatdowns that the AOP and Seth Rollins had been delivering, especially the one on Rey Mysterio, which Owens blamed for his title loss. Rollins and AOP came to the ring, or at least the ramp, and Owens quickly took the fight to them. Samoa Joe's music hit, and Joe joined the fight and hit people. Security eventually separated the melee, and the show went to a break. Quite a frenetic start to Raw.
Yeah, it looks like they were trying to grab people's attention early. I like this new heel Seth Rollins.
Me too. The Monday Night Messiah.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's great, and him aligning himself with AOP. It's kind of like people. I've seen people comment it saying like, "Oh, this is like the second Shield."
Yeah.
I can't quite see that bit.
I'm not really in agreement with that either. This is more Seth and his cronies than the Shield. The Shield was more an equal partnership.
Yeah, they were like, I think they called themselves like a brotherhood.
The Brotherhood, that's right. Yeah.
So whereas these are literally just like Seth Rollins and his hired security.
Absolutely.
A bit like when he was a heel, and he had J&J security.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, there you
go. Quite the polar opposite to the AOP, mind you, but...
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
Speaking of partnerships, I quite like this partnership between Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I do quite like it. They're both like quite big guys, quite powerful guys.
They're fairly similar. Their career paths in WWE, at least, have been very, very similar. Yeah. And the thing that strikes me as quite funny is that these two guys are probably the ones responsible for the most heinous actions in WWE in the last couple of years. But now that they're aligned as baby faces.
I know, I find that bit funny.
I wonder how long it's going to last, how long we can have both of these guys be babyface before one of them gets the itch to beat up someone's mother or hit a baby with a chair or something hideous like that.
Yeah.
But while it lasts, I'm going to enjoy it, I think.
Oh yeah. What I do miss though is Samoa Joe being on commentary.
He was so good on commentary.
He was really good on commentary. I loved his commentary. It was brilliant.
Maybe that's something that he can sidestep to when he can't wrestle anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's something to fall back on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it worked for Corey Graves.
Actually, Raw's first contest was a rematch from TLC, which I quite liked. Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy. After a few competitive back and forth, Black put down Murphy with a brainbuster for a 2 count. Black delivered a surprise Black Mass, followed by a second for the 1, 2, 3.
So you say you liked it. Did you like the TLC match or this rematch on Raw?
I liked both. I quite like Aleister Black.
I really like Aleister Black. And I'm not sure how much of this podcast you listened to up to joining it, but I was really looking forward to the TLC match and felt that it was lacking, unfortunately.
Really?
This match, however, this rematch was the match that I would have preferred to have at TLC. I found this match to be much, much better, much more what I was expecting from them.
I will agree with you that the match on Raw was better than the one at TLC, but I still enjoyed the one at TLC.
I can't even put my finger on what I didn't like about the TLC match. It just felt like they were moving too slowly for two guys that are very sudden.
Yeah, they're very quick guys.
I don't know if maybe nerves were at play, being that this was probably the biggest matches of each of their careers. I mean, Aleister Black has faced bigger opponents, but as Aleister Black progresses, the build keeps going. And I
Yeah.
think that adds more pressure to put on good matches for Aleister Black. And
Yeah.
I don't think it was met quite as much as he would have hoped at TLC.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I like Aleister Black. I don't really like Buddy Murphy for some reason. I just don't like him. It might be the fact that he used to date Alexa Bliss.
There is that, yeah.
But no, there's just something about Buddy Murphy that I'm not too keen on.
I really enjoyed his work on 205 Live. That was
He
that
was
was probably the
better there.
highlight of his career.
Yeah.
But something's been lacking since being moved over to the main roster, that's for sure.
But yeah, I liked this match anyway, so.
Okay. Before we move on to the next match,
Yep.
I've got to ask you a lead-in question.
Mm.
A potentially controversial lead-in question.
Hmm.
Do you think that Charlotte Flair is worth all the hype that she gets, or is she overrated?
I think she's overrated.
Oh, thank God.
I get that she's a Flair, you know, she's Ric Flair's son. Ric Flair's a legend, you know, and she's a 10-time champ. She is.
I think it's 10 right now.
Yeah. So, and I get that, but it's like they're trying to force her on us.
Yes.
It's like we get she's a Flair, you know. And she doesn't really, I don't feel like she has her own gimmick.
So here's my take on it, and that's that WWE are trying too hard. They have very quickly forced their way to make her a 10-time champion.
Yeah.
Forgetting to mention that I think 4 or 5 of those were in the space of about 2.5, 3 months as they passed the belt back and forth between Sasha and Charlotte. Back when they first introduced these new women's belts. So it's much in the same way that the New Day's title record is inflated in that way. They've inflated the record just to get her close to her dad's 16 times.
Yeah.
And as you finished with there, she hasn't really got anything now beyond the fact that she's Ric Flair's daughter.
Yeah.
She has the fact that has kind of carved her own path for herself.
Yeah.
But that's where the difference ends. It's Ric Flair's daughter. She's good in her own right. But where do you go from there?
I know. I mean, it's like there's not a lot differentiating her from Ric Flair. You know, she even has the robes and everything. You know, so not a lot really happening there. So, but anyway, carrying on with Charlotte Flair, she comes down to the ring and announces her entry into the 2020 Royal Rumble match, the first woman or man to do so. She issues an open challenge and Natalya answers. The match was at one point interrupted by the 24/7 champion R-Truth and a steady stream of all the lovely jobbers, but this didn't affect the match at all, and eventually Natalya tapped out to Charlotte's figure 8 submission. I don't either. Yeah. No, she didn't. She didn't at all. You know, and having also the 24/7 championship come running around the ring, that kind of says to me that it's kind of like this was like an afterthought almost, if you know what I mean, you know. So having the 24/7 championship, which I will say now is a bit of an annoying championship, I find. So the match was just bleh.
Okay, I don't think we need to devote any more time to that match.
No, we don't.
Yeah. Next up was the Street Profits against the OC, which I'm happy to devote lots of time to. Before the match, the OC bragged about how they'd beaten the tag champs, the War Viking Machine Raider Experience, twice already. and that they were, of course, the best tag team in the world. When the Street Profits arrived, they pointed out that they beat Gallows and Anderson on their Raw debut, and then they fight, and the Street Profits pick up the win. What do you think about that?
I like the Street Profits.
Me too.
And, well, actually, to be fair, I quite like the OC as well.
Same.
You know, OC, they've made a name for themselves. You know, it might not be the OC that they're named. You know, there's other names they've gone by that the WWE won't admit.
Pew, pew.
Yeah, exactly. That they've actually kind of hinted at that every now and again, though.
Yeah.
But the OC, they've respected them in their own right. They are a good tag team. Same with the Street Profits. I like the Street Profits gimmick. You know, the kind of like on the street guys, and I just liked them.
There's a lot to be said about the tag team division on Raw at the moment, and I want to see more out of all of these guys, out of the three kind of teams that we were alluding to, including the Vikings. The Street Profits need to spend more time in the ring in 2020. The OC also need to spend more time in the ring, but they need to get more of the ruthless streak behind them. I don't feel that in trying to emulate the Bullet Club, they need to add more kind of threat to the rest of the roster than they're doing. Rather, they've rested so far on this kind of comedy, calling people nerds type thing, and they're not really backed it up in the ring. They've got more losses on their record than I think is necessary, and the whatever they're called, Viking Raiders, I can't even keep up with their name.
Just call them Vikings.
Vikings, Raiders. I think Raiders is what I tend to call them by default most of the time. But anyway, I think, and this speaks to my point, they've turned into too much of a gimmick rather than the formidable tag team that they were in NXT and on the Indies beforehand.
Yeah, the Vikings were very good. I think they were like the first ever tag team to hold like the Raw tag team, the NXT tag team. I think it was like the Ring of Honor tag team, and then there was another tag team championship that they've held, and they were like the first team to hold all four of those championships. And there was a picture, and actually I was surprised, WWE actually put up a picture of them holding all four of these championships, like from back in the day, and I was like, oh my god, they are actually, you know, can kick some ass, you know.
It's probably the fourth one is probably a Japanese title of some kind then.
Yeah, it probably is. So,
you're right. It's interesting that they made a big deal of that, especially that's giving a lot of kudos to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I know. I think the last time we heard Ring of Honor in WWE was when CM Punk did a pipe bomb. But
yeah, generally I like where the tag team stuff is going. There's more to get to on the next Raw, so we'll move on now.
Yeah. So next up, we had Drew McIntyre made short work of Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder in a handicap match for some reason.
Yeah, great. I'm waiting for Drew McIntyre to show up. And I don't think it's his fault, unfortunately. It's that he hasn't really been given the opportunity to shine. No, I mean, he's this big bloke. He's definitely improved, you know, back when he was in WWE way ago. And he was just like the chosen one by Vince McMahon, and he had the Intercontinental Championship, etc. And then he went away and he did other stuff in wrestling, and then he's come back and was billed as like a big force to be reckoned with, you know. He was this big, he's the Scottish psychopath as he's now called. But I just feel like he hasn't gone anywhere. And putting him in like this handicap match with Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, don't get me wrong, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins are not too bad, but at the moment they're a bit jobberish, you know. It just seemed completely without point. And the thing that gets me is they saw McIntyre's work on the Indies and in Impact Wrestling, which obviously they won't mention. And that's what they brought him back for. They wanted that Drew McIntyre, then known as Drew Galloway in WWE, but now are overproducing him again to the point that he isn't giving that. It's very strange that you'd bring someone in to do a job and then not let them do that job. Hopefully we can see more out of him going forward.
Would like that.
So in what was a strange segment, Randy Orton came to the ring on crutches for what he said was a big announcement. He stated that he had picked up an injury at a house show in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and that it was worse than had been anticipated. Maybe never return to the ring worse. AJ Styles interrupted and mocked Randy Orton for the fact that he may have to retire. AJ put his hands behind his back and invited Randy Orton to hit him, which led Orton to say that the difference between he and AJ Styles was that Orton was patient, and then he nailed him with an RKO. Injury fake, Swerve delivered.
Yeah, exactly. This just feels like quite stereotypical Randy Orton to me.
Did you buy it? Did you buy the...
No.
Oh, I did actually. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought, no, this is Randy Orton's life. This is all he's ever done. He's been in the WWE since, I don't know, when he was like, I don't know, a wee little lad, with his dad and all that, and this is all he's known. So I couldn't really see him retiring, because this is all he's known, this is how he supports his family, and I know he gets paid a lot, and he's probably got stuff. He's
got a nest egg that he can rely on, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, but I really couldn't see him like just going, no, this is an injury, I'm giving up. So I was thinking, is it real, or is this going to be like Daniel Bryan? It's not really the same thing, but when Daniel Bryan said he was retiring and then a couple of years later he came back, it probably sounds very like stereotypical, but I like it when he does do like the RKO that just like literally just goes bam and he's RKO'd someone, how quickly he can do it.
Yeah, I like the sudden RKOs.
Yeah.
And it's much better now that Orton is on Raw without Michael Cole, and we don't have to hear out of nowhere every time that he does it.
Oh yeah. Out of nowhere. Yeah, just endless. Next up, we had Andrade was scheduled to take on a local jobber, but after trying to DDT the local boy on exposed concrete, like he did to Humberto Carrillo, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Ricochet made the save and the match turned into a one-on-one between them. Andrade won the match with a DDT after Selena Vega pushed Ricochet off the top rope.
I don't know if you're saying it right either, but I do appreciate your rolled R's.
Yeah, I like to do that.
I grew up in Wales, so I'm trained to roll my R's. In general, I would have preferred Andrade's first segment with the United States Championship to have a bit more impact than that.
Yeah, I think them starting off with a jobber which actually I found out, I don't know if you heard this, it might have been this one, I think, but that jobber was actually a veteran of wrestling. Yeah, apparently he'd been wrestling for like 20, 30 years. So he was apparently a veteran or something like that. Whether that's just a rumour or something, someone's made up. But
that often is the case with the people that WWE brought in. It's that they haven't made it to WWE, but they will try and give them something.
An opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tryout for anybody at that point, isn't it?
Yeah. As you said, you like Andrade anyway.
Yeah. And sure, it turned into a match with Ricochet. And I kind of appreciated that, other than I feel that WWE at the moment are kind of, for lack of a better term, blowing their wad with giving away what should be really high-profile pay-per-view matches on free television.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think of Ricochet?
I really like Ricochet. I think he's kind of tapered off a bit from his initial
Yeah.
buzz.
Yeah.
And I also think that he's been slowed down a fair bit.
Yeah.
This isn't the same Ricochet that we were seeing in NXT, and even that wasn't the same
No.
Ricochet that we were seeing on the Indies.
No.
But that's not to say that he's not entertaining regardless. I would just like
Yeah.
to see the reins be taken off.
Yeah, I would as well. I agree with you that I like Ricochet. I think it could do with the fact that he always dresses up as a superhero, so it could have something to do with that. But again, I agree with you. I think they've slowed him down. I think they bring him out at pay-per-views. He's wearing all these fancy ring gear, looking like a proper superhero. Maybe just like give like the kids in the audience like something to buzz about.
All right then, it's wedding time. And weddings always go perfectly in WWE, right? What could possibly go wrong here?
Oh, God.
The wedding of the decade got underway with the knowledge that Lana had written Lashley's vows for him, which is totally on brand. The wedding went well, right up until the part where the pastor had to ask if anyone knew of any lawful impediment to the matrimony, and that's where the fun began. First of all, a man claiming to be Lana's first husband arrived, and Lashley spine-busted him. Lashley's first wife followed, and Lana slapped her back down the ring steps. And then, most impactfully, Liv Morgan made her way down the ramp, claiming that she came to WWE a lost soul until her love gave her renewed purpose. She revealed that she wasn't talking about Bobby Lashley, but instead she was talking about Lana. Liv and Lana brawl, but the wedding does actually try to continue again, and the final interruption was from Rusev, who was hiding in the cake. Of course, where else would he be?
Surprise.
Wedding incomplete. Raw goes off the air. What did you make of all of that? I've lost my breath talking about it.
God. This was very much your stereotypical WWE wedding, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Everything goes wrong. Bride ends up covered in something.
I'm waiting for a normal wedding to happen in WWE, because that will be the most shocking thing of all time. It's like nobody interrupts, nothing happens, they just stand in the ring, they go through the vows. You may now kiss the bride. Okay, great, that's the wedding. Thanks for watching Raw. See you later.
I would actually watch that. It would be such a surprise to everyone that
people would talk about it for years. Do you remember that wedding that went right?
Yeah, the wedding that went right on WWE. That's like the historical moment. That'd be like grandfather telling the grandkids story, isn't it?
But this one didn't go right, and there were a few things that had me creasing myself, and they weren't intentional things. So Bobby Lashley's makeup. Why was he wearing makeup?
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley's makeup rubbing off on Lana's face was the most hilarious thing.
Oh, I was laughing.
He looked like one of those trashy The Only Way is Essex girls. He'd put so much makeup on. He looked like any kind of facial features at all.
Oh no, it was just so funny. I can't put it into words how funny it was.
Now, to give Lana credit, and I don't really like to give Lana credit because this whole thing has been a car crash, but the slap that she gave the quote-unquote ex-wife was wicked. And I don't know who that woman was, but she took it like a sack of shit, man. She just rolled down the steps.
Yeah.
And bounced at the bottom.
I think fair play to that girl, Give her a WWE contract if she can act that well to go downstairs.
But that's not even my biggest question from all of this. From all of the confusing things that we're supposed to be asking. My big question is, why did they put a bunch of chairs at the top of the ramp and then have nobody sit in them?
I've no idea. This is WWE being weird.
They just sat there with empty chairs in the background. It was weird.
It was just too weird, I wonder if it was like a symbol of how like nobody agrees with this wedding, so none of like Lana or Bobby Lashley's families come along, you know, some rubbish that's too obscure for people to understand.
Because they were supposed to have guests, right? They made a big point of saying, well, you're invited and you're not invited. And
yeah, but clearly no one wanted to go.
The one bright spot, though, to bring this nonsense to a close, at least Rusev wore a bow tie.
That is very true. That is very true. Just on a bit of a fashion thing as well, can I just ask, where the hell was Liv Morgan's rest of her jacket?
I didn't. Was she not wearing half a jacket?
Did you not see it? It was designed so like the left-hand side doesn't have like the breast and the sleeve of the jacket.
I was too busy cringing at so many other things to notice, to be honest.
I saw that. This is me being fashion police now, isn't it? But it was just, I thought, why? So that was my last bit anyway. So anyway.
Right then, Dan, that is your first podcast in the books. How does it feel to have popped your podcast cherry?
Oh, I felt really good. I really enjoyed it, you know, actually talking to someone about WWE, because in my world, with all my job and all that, there's nobody really interested in wrestling, which is a bit disappointing.
Okay, well maybe we can change that for you. We'll be back tomorrow with the last week of WWE television, taking us right up to date. But until then, I've been Jez. He's been Dan. Bye.